So when I met Philippe, I fell in love with him within 6 days, and I moved from Maryland to Florida to be with him, right? And I knew he was the one immediately, but I also knew that I couldn't date him the same way I had dated other people and expect our relationship to be successful. I had to take ownership of my actions and put my all into our relationship. And 10 years later, I'm so glad I did. I'm so grateful that I set a goal, took ownership of what went wrong in my past relationships, and figured out how I could contribute to this relationship into making it last. So, happy Wednesday. This is the Daily Huddle with me, Life Coach Franzani. This week, we're talking all about accountability. And today, we're going to discuss the benefits of accountability. So, we talked about how accountability is taking ownership of results, not just responsibility for activities. But what's the point though, right? Why go to the extent of understanding your goals, taking ownership of when things go wrong, and looking in the mirror and being responsible for the solution? Well, these are what I think are the four real true benefits of accountability. One, purpose. When you know what you're working toward, you gain a sense of purpose at home and at work, and you feel more motivated. So when I first met Philippe, I realized that in my past relationships, I had been the queen of half-truths. So I realized I needed to be super honest. I took on this idea of radical candor. I'm going to tell him how I'm feeling every time I'm feeling some type of way. So that was my goal, was to be as honest as possible, because I was like, either this is going to work or it's not, and I want to know right away. So it was so motivating. It forced me into uncomfortable conversations, and I really feel like Philippe and I's relationship, other than being founded on truth and honesty, it's also founded on communication, because I didn't want to be a jerk. So it wasn't about like saying the nasty thing or saying the mean thing. It was just about saying the thing that I needed to say, right? So purpose. It gives you purpose when you take accountability. It also gives you power. So you take control of your perspective, actions, and efforts. I decided that instead of waiting for someone to be the person that I needed them to be, I would ask them, I would tell them who I needed them to be, and then they got to decide if they wanted to be that person. But it gave me such an incredible power, because I wasn't just waiting around to see what it was going to be like, right? So the second thing is power. Third is confidence. You believe in yourself and your ability to handle uncertainty. I knew what I wanted. I wanted an honest relationship where I could be myself with the man that I loved, and I was confident in that being the thing I wanted. So I didn't let myself get distracted when I knew I needed to tell him the truth about something, because I was confident that I knew what I wanted and was taking accountability for that, so I wasn't going to let myself sway. Fourth is resolve. So when obstacles come up, you can figure out ways around them to keep moving towards your goal. So I remember I thought about telling Philippe like things that bothered me, in like things like bad things, I guess. But on our first birthday with him, Philippe picked me up and said, "We're going to do whatever you want to do today." And to me, that said, you didn't plan shit. You did not care about what I had going, or you're making me think of what I need to do today. And that's the exact opposite of what I would think was a great birthday. But it was our first birthday together. It was like 4 months in, and I went along with the day. We had a great day. I know what I like to do. We went to the movies. We had brunch. It was a great day. And I spent a really long time. I was like, no, you cannot let this day go by. A birthday where you have high expectations. You can't let that day go by without telling him what you want. But telling him on the day of my birthday, when we just started dating, I knew was not it. But my resolve allowed me to figure out, okay, I'm still going towards a very honest relationship. How can I tell him, and when can I tell him in a way that he hears what I'm saying without seeming like I'm a bitch or that I, was ungrateful, and that I understand the thought, but I have different expectations. So taking accountability gives you resolve. And finally, it gives you resilience. If you're taking ownership of results, then you know you will fail, right? Like activities, you can always figure out a way to accomplish, but results, you don't know the exact way to get the results that you want. You're going to have to pivot and change it up. So when you take accountability and you're taking ownership over results, you know you're going to fail, and you also expect yourself to get back up. So that is the truth of my relationship in all situations. Having a foundation of honesty and communication, we mess up all the time, and we expect each other and we expect ourselves to get back up. So when I mess up and say something that's, sometimes I say truths that later I don't really feel, or I'm not always so great at saying it at the right time. But I keep at it because I know that the bigger picture is that we want a relationship where we could be exactly who we are with each other and encourage each other to do that. So those are the benefits of accountability. I think there are actually 5. I said 4. Purpose, power, confidence, resolve, and resilience. So let's be honest. It's easier to blame, not to take ownership, to leave it up to the bosses or the cosmos. And I know it feels like you're too busy to worry about the results. You're just trying to make it through the day. And I'm sure you're thinking, what's wrong with focusing on activities? I feel accomplished. You feel accomplished at the end of the day, probably. And you probably fall into bed feeling like, oh, I did all the things and I had still more to do. But are you fulfilled? Are you happy? The benefits of accountability are also its pitfalls. So when you don't take ownership of your results, you feel purposeless. You have no motivation, high stress. You're wondering what it's all for as you run around on the hamster wheel. And instead of going towards your goals, you're constantly trying to avoid pitfalls. You feel powerless. You're consistently at the effect of everything and everyone in your life. You're insecure, constantly doubting yourself and your abilities. You're fearful. You never know if the decisions you make are right or not for yourself. And you're stuck. Every failure feels debilitating, and life feels like it's an endless list of failures, right? So you deserve better than that, my friend. Accountability is a choice. You have to take ownership. You have to accept responsibility. So take it and accept it. And give yourself better than this. It's not easy, but I promise you, it's worth it. I woke up this morning more in love with my husband than I was on that fateful day that we made out on the dock 10 years ago, right? And even after, the vodka goggles and all of that were gone, our relationship is more incredible today than it was then. And I believe that that should be true for in every aspect of your life, like fine wine, right? It should just be getting better and better, but that's a choice. That is a decision. And it's never too late to make it. So thank you for watching the Daily Huddle with me, Life Coach Franzani. Every week I pick a theme, and every day I discuss a topic all around better every day. Because we don't hope to have a good life, we work to live our very best lives. I'll see you here bright and early tomorrow to continue our conversation about accountability. Give yourself an amazing day.